This is the screencast for section 1.2, Functions and Their Properties, the most important section of the year. Sorry to throw this at you so early in the school year, but like I said, it's important and we're going to be using it pretty much every day for the rest of the school year. Alright, so let's start off with example 1, function definition and notation. You saw this in Algebra 2 a little bit. Function notation means instead of y, you're going to use f of x to represent the output of a function. F of x, that's how that's said, means the function f's value, where x is the input. Sometimes you see g of x or h of x. This one we're calling f of x, where x is the input.
So f of 3 means that after you plug in 3 for x into the f function and simplify, you get 5. 5 is the output. Example 1, defining a function versus not a function. Does the formula y equals x squared define y as a function of x? Well, we can't call it f of x yet until we determine that it is a function of x. So I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to put in y equals x squared. And I'm going to graph a zoom sixth. By testing this with the vertical line test, I can see that any vertical line I draw is going to pass through this function once, or not at all is fine, but it won't pass through the function any more than once. So yes, y is a function of x. The other quality we use to distinguish a function of x is that if I plug in an x value, I will only get out one y value. So for example, if I plug in 2 squared is 4, not 4 and negative 4, not both 4 and 5, it's just 4. The now try problem, example 3 in your exercises, says x equals 2y squared. Well, x is supposed to be our input and y is supposed to be our output. So I'm going to solve for y. First, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And now I have to take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of both sides, don't forget the plus or minus out in front. So now I have that y equals plus or minus the square root of x over 2. So y is either the positive square root of x over 2 or the negative square root of x over 2. I can actually graph that in my calculator too. It's just going to take me two different y values. So I'll hit second square root of x over 2. That'll be in y1. Then the negative version of that, square root of x over 2. Now hit graph. That would not be a function of x. We cannot call this f of x equals plus or minus square root of x over 2. It is not a function. If I plug in, let's say 8, so y equals plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. Well, that means plus or minus the square root of 4, which means plus or minus 2. So if I plug in 8, I get both positive 2 and negative 2. 8 comma 2, 8 comma negative 2. Therefore, x equals 2y squared is not a function of x.